It's a pet's life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.
And a very good morning to you all. Welcome to the programme. If you want to get in touch, you can text or WhatsApp on the usual number 0833 97 97 97. You can ask any type of vet question for our resident expert, Des Groom, who is with us today. And a very good morning, sir.
Hi, John. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's good. Now, every week we kind of go in and we delve into the world of animals and we pick a certain topic. And I think one that's very apt at the moment, because it's all about animal health, and you're very much into that with your businesses as well. But pet obesity is something that has reared its ugly head and has been highlighted in articles in recent times as well. And here's one for you. It's believed that there's a number of obese pets in Ireland has risen since COVID-19, with up to 40% of cats, 60% of dogs and 28% of rabbits in Ireland now overweight. That's some interesting stat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great statistic, and it's borne up by the footfall we see in our surgeries every day as vets. The number of pets coming in and out that are overweight is increasing dramatically. UK studies and US studies, the figures are even worse.
I was looking at the US studies because I have that here in front of me as well.
Yeah.
It's up to 61% in animals and 59% in cats.
It is.
And other animals.
You see, there's a couple of correlations there. The more urbanised a society is, the higher the level of human obesity and pet obesity.
Didn't know that. Cool. Okay.
So that's a fact. Now, we wouldn't be as bad here in Ireland, but it's coming down the tracks. It's going to get worse in terms of pet obesity. Now, us vets, we call it an epidemic, just like any other epidemic, because it's almost contagious in the sense that if a family has one obese pet, they'll have another. And if they have an obese pet, then the neighbours who get a dog, their dog will probably end up obese.
Wow.
Habits are copied.
Right, okay.
This is what happens.
Yeah, but I'd say a lot of it is people think it's fun to chuck some extra food and not bring them for walks.
Yeah, they do.
Here's a bit off the table and here's a bit of this. And
so the first thing is that people use food and they use treats as a way to reward their dog and a way to show love and affection to their pet.
Yeah.
And realistically, as vets, not to be too cold-hearted about it, but you don't need to show affection by throwing food at the dog. They prefer play. They prefer time spent with them. They prefer a ball to be thrown or a frisbee to be thrown than to be just given treats.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Food does not correlate with love and affection in the same way. Second thing then is more exercise. You'd be amazed how much exercise dogs actually need, what their natural needs are. Most of our modern dogs are descended from working breeds. So they were active all day historically, but now as pets living in suburban situations, in family homes, they're not as active as they need to be. That's the second factor. And the third factor then, unfortunately, is pet food. So indiscriminate feeding.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah, we did the wrong type of food, John. That's the thing about it.
Right.
It's not even just that they're overfeeding. They're actually feeding the wrong foods in many cases, the wrong types of pet food.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up something, and it's to do with cats, because I know more about cats than I do about dogs these days. But here's one for you as well. We all know that it says here that foods such as chocolate and raisins are toxic to dogs, and most people owners know that. But here's another one that people don't realise, that 100 grams of processed chicken or ham that you buy in the packs that you think is okay to give to your dog is the equivalent of 2 donuts.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as a good calorie or a bad calorie. Calories are calories.
Yeah.
And there's a maintenance level. There's an amount of calories that an animal needs in the day, whether they're provided by good food or bad food.
Yeah.
So overfeeding of good food is just as bad as overfeeding anything.
Okay, but here's one for you. Now, I've seen this before. Say ordinary, a little bit of cooked breast of chicken at the end of the day, and there's a little bit left over, and you give it to you, and you know that's lean. So if it's lean for you and it's healthy for you, is it healthy for your animal?
It's healthy, but it just might be a matter of needing to moderate the pet food that you give along with it. The trouble is that modern dog diets are very rich.
Yeah.
They're full of processed additives. They're full of sugars and salts. They're full of colours. The calorie content in dog food, particularly the supermarket brands, calorie content is very high. So if you're inclined to give leftover dinners, leftover bits of good human food, then you really need to be taking a little handful back out of the dog bowl, because the dog diet is complete. There's loads in it. So if you're throwing in the bit extra, then put in less dog nuts into the bowl in conjunction with that. You can feed a mix, you can feed your leftovers if you wish, but you're going to have to feed less of what's in the bag at the same time.
In relation to, say, dogs and cats particularly, because we know that dogs need to be kind of nurtured and need to be walked. Cats will do their own thing anyway.
They will.
But the one thing I have noticed is that if you chuck a load of food, and my wife brought this up the other day, Caroline, she was saying that if we throw, say, some extra food into the cat's bowl or whatever else, he'll eat a tad and walk away. But if you give him small pieces and small amounts, and more often, or whatever the case may be, he will eat it, and it's less rejecting it. Yeah,
that's a good way of doing it. Cats get bored.
Yes.
Bored eating because they're obligate, they're hunters.
Yeah.
They love to be moving about, and it's mental stimulation and movement and hunting. So you could actually stimulate and keep your cat from being bored, and keep your cat more active by feeding little and often, and by throwing down some food in different places. Now, very hyperactive dogs that need more stimulation, need more exercise, it's also a good way of feeding them, which is to put the food down in smaller amounts and hide some of it, and use what they call slow feeders, which are bowls that conceal the food slightly, and the dogs have to play, they have to move the bowl, they have to look for the food.
Okay, let's turn our attention to now, this is what we're trying to do, but what about the people who have existing problems with their dogs, health problems caused by pet obesity? I've seen that diabetes and heart disease will put them under pressure as well.
So the obesity, the number one knock-on bad effect, side effect of pet obesity is arthritis.
Right.
Yeah. Now that's a whole big topic that we're going to talk about on another occasion.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing. But obesity, arthritis and pets are massively linked. Heart disease, thyroid gland disease, diabetes, liver disease, all these things. But the very first long-term effect of obesity will be arthritis.
Do animals suffer with high blood pressure?
They do.
Okay. How do you check it?
How do you check it? There's a different type of a blood pressure machine that we use for checking blood pressure in dogs.
Put your paw out there.
You put the cuff on the legs.
Okay.
Can be done.
Okay, very good. I was just curious because
and there's a treatment for it. There's a tablet for it. It's generally linked to obesity, and it's generally linked to heart disease.
Okay,
so
are there certain breeds that are kind of inclined to be more obese than others as a result of maybe naturally overweight?
Yeah, unfortunately, the brachycephalic breeds. Remember the ones we talked about last week with the squashed faces?
Yeah.
Pugs and so on who have difficulty breathing. Really unfortunate. These dogs with the breathing difficulties are the ones most prone to obesity. So owners of these dogs need to be even more careful about their weight and their exercise levels. Now, just to return to your question, you asked me what to do.
Yeah.
What advice do I give clients who come into me and their dog is a little bit obese? We put the dog on the scales, then we have a look at the dog and we think about what breed is it, what weight it should be, and we give them a number and we tell them how many kilos overweight the dog is. What's the target weight going to be? And that target weight then won't be unrealistic. We don't put unrealistic targets on people. We say, look, ideally, I'd like him to lose 5 kilos. Let's aim for 3 and then see where we are.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Now, how do you start to lose a bit of weight? Okay, you do have to look at the exercise. So people will say, but I do walk him. So one little change you can make if your dog's a little bit more obese is more shorter walks. So little and often is a great rule of thumb. Little and often, that's the first thing in terms of increasing the exercise. Secondly, dogs actually need cardio, the same as us. So a walk by itself isn't enough. You need to find the time and space to give them a run. Find a place where you can let them off, get them running. Now that might mean sending them to doggy daycare once a week or something as well. So they need cardio, they need to run as well as walk. Okay, so that's the exercise dimension. Second aspect of it then is feeding less. Okay, get the vets to measure out for you how much the dog should eat.
Yeah.
And you use a measuring cup and a kitchen scales.
Okay.
And they'll tell you what the dog should eat in grams per day, and divide it in 2 and give it morning and evening, and feed nothing but that and cut out the extras. Remember, if you're feeding extras, then the amount of nuts from the bag needs to be less.
Yeah, that makes sense as well, yeah.
Third thing then is, one big problem is what starts the weight gain off in the first place is usually giving the wrong type of food.
Right, okay.
So the third part of the equation is look at what food you're giving the dog. Oh, but I'm feeding him a really good diet. Yeah, you might be. One of the problems with the really good diet, the number one thing I find in terms of them feeding the wrong food is they're usually feeding a less active family pet a working dog diet. Right? Now, these working dog diets are really popular because they have a great picture of a galloping dog on the bag, and they're full of protein, full of calories, full of good quality often, but our pets are not working dogs. So the very first problem with weight gain is that the calorie content in the diet will be too much in the first place. So you're going to have to switch away from probably what you're on onto a lower calorie, more appropriate diet. Now that could be the categories that are going to be more appropriate then. If you have an older dog, you need to be feeding him a senior diet. Senior diet would be lower calorie, lower carbohydrate, higher protein. Right, that's the first thing. He might need a senior diet. Secondly, he might need a light diet. That's a weight-reducing diet, which is higher in fibre and lower in calories.
Okay.
Right? Thirdly, say if he's a large breed dog and you're feeding him a working diet, well, not all large breed dogs have that really high metabolism for a working dog diet. A large breed dog like a Labrador Retriever, he might be better off being fed a large breed diet, not a working dog diet. So they're the type of changes that we talk to people about, and we get them on the right track in terms of getting the dog back on the right food.
How do you wean a dog off the bad food to get him onto the good food to get them to actually eat it?
Yeah, so they tell me, first question I ask is, how much have you got left of that bag from the supermarket? And I'm happy if they tell me there's a half a bag left, because what I'll do then is I'll supply them with a small bag of the appropriate diet, and they'll wean the dog onto the appropriate diet by feeding it 50-50 with the old bag until the old bag is gone.
Very good. Simple enough.
Yep.
Yeah, and then slowly kind of move the process the opposite direction to the healthy eating.
Yeah, and people will say he's really fussy. A lot of these dogs that come into us obese, they've gotten used to eating the wrong food, high-fat food, greasy food, really lovely smelling, tasty, wet food, and converting them onto a lower calorie, dry diet. Again, they'll say, oh, but he doesn't eat dry food, or oh, but he won't eat that. By the weaning process of converting them, and gradually you will get them on the right diet. I've never met a dog that I haven't been able to convert onto the correct diet eventually.
Okay, Conrad was on, and he says his golden retriever got neutered about 2 years ago back, and since the neutering, even though I bring her for walks obviously, subsequently has put on some weight. Yeah, normal. No, that's normal. Again, not to be concealing anything. Full transparency. Vets love to promote neutering, and we spoke last week for the whole 20 minutes about neutering and spaying, as we call it in females. And the first thing I said is that spaying and neutering in males and females, it does reduce the metabolic rate by 10%. That's a fact, and every vet should tell you that, so that you do need to feed 10% less calories. Now, that doesn't mean 10% less food. It means getting the dog onto the right diet that is appropriate for what the calorie count and the calorie needs of that dog are going to be going forward. And that neutered female retriever, by the way, it's still possible to get her back onto the right food. You get her onto a high fibre diet, she won't be hungry, she'll feel satisfied, she'll feel full, and she will lose the weight. Okay, that's what you want to hear. Good stuff indeed. The question is, how do you know when your dog is overweight? As in not just like a big hairy kind of good coat in the middle of winter and you don't know. I mean, how do you know? Lethargic kicks in? You might find them becoming a little bit, yes. I was going to say, how do you know? But okay, we'll talk about the dog's behaviour then, that aspect of it. So they will become less active. They will get tired. They'll do shorter walks. They'll want to turn around for home probably a little bit sooner. Your dog that's 7 or 8 years of age and is overweight will be decidedly and noticeably less active than a 3 or a 4-year-old dog. So that's the first thing you will notice, right? And as they get older and stiffen up, then arthritis will settle in. So behaviour-wise, you'll know by the dog's behaviour without anybody having to do any great physical exam on the dog. Yeah.
Okay, but just to talk about the physical exam, any vet surgery, any veterinary practice will weigh your dog for free.
Okay.
And any nurse or vet will look at your dog for a couple of minutes and tell you if it's the right weight or not.
Yeah.
What we do is we use a breed chart. We know what a dog's breed should weight should be for its breed and size, based on the chart. And we'll put your dog on the scales, and then we'll have a look at the dog. We'll usually put our hands on the dog, and we're feeling the amount of condition around the dog's midline or rib cage area. And it's a combination of experience and following the chart and a good feel of the dog, and let's have a look and see what the scales say. And we'll be able to say he's 5 or 6 kilos more than we'd like him to be.
Okay, that makes sense. Peter's on, he said he's actually a chef in Kildare. He says he brings his dog home scraps about once or twice a week, and that's all. It's usually chopped up chicken or chopped up a little bit of meat, but his total diet is 100% dry food, with the exception of the snippets here and there. Was that okay to do?
That is okay to do, but it'll say on the bag that dog needs to be fed X amount, 400 grams per day, or whatever it is, right? So on the day that he's bringing home a nice few hundred calories of leftovers from the restaurant, he needs to be giving that dog 100 or 150 grams less in the bowl.
Yeah, makes sense,
Yeah.
Yeah.
In relation to that, again, it's worth saying, since we're on the topic, dogs are not carnivores.
Yeah.
There you go. People think dogs are carnivores. They're not. Now, cats are. Cats are obligate carnivores, meaning primarily they're meat eaters.
Yeah.
But dogs, are omnivores.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they need carbohydrates, potatoes, rice, brown rice, fibre.
But cats aren't that fussy they're not that fussy when it comes to that stuff either.
No, to be fair, they will eat lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're considered obligate carnivores. They have a higher need for fat and meat than dogs.
Okay.
But dogs are omnivores. Dogs need veg. And even fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeps them going as well. Going. As well on that one. Okay. Can you recap on the neuter status regarding dogs, please, Des? Just regarding healthy diet after neutering.
Healthy diet after neutering.
Yeah.
Again, a maintenance diet. So have a look and don't feed a working breed diet. Okay? Feed a maintenance diet. And if it's an older dog, feed a senior diet.
Okay.
And remember, within a year or so of neutering, your dog's metabolic rate is 10% less. So they need 10% less food than an unneutered dog.
Okay, a couple of quick questions before we let you go. Is there a natural remedy for dogs that have bad breath? Doesn't seem to be a real health issue, but just boy oh boy, smelly breath in a dog.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Now maybe it's a little bit of a gimmick, but there is actually a fresh water product, a water mixer for breath available in some pet shops. But having said that, the reason for bad breath is usually bad teeth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of times in a dog's life, a little bit of dental treatment is needed, and clean up all the plaque and tartar off the teeth, and that will take care of the bad breath.
Do you have to do local anaesthetic or anything when you're doing dental, or little something to relax them?
Oh, unfortunately, John, you have to give them a general.
Oh, do you?
That's why, as I say, I wouldn't be doing it every year, to be fair.
Yeah.
So a couple of times in a dog's life
is all that it needs.
Yes.
But it'll help with decay problems and stuff further down the road. It
helps with decay. Generally, if we get that opportunity to do that bit of dentistry, we will have we give them a good clean up. We knock all the tartar and plaque off the teeth. We check out the quality of all the roots, and we remove any teeth that are loose.
Okay. And a question here from Mick in Mees, a separate issue completely. He says, luckily I have cats for the last 18 years. They eat often but small amounts, but I noticed that the cats are ranging from around 15, 16 and 18-year-olds. There's some small tumours there now coming in. Is that normal for cats this time of year, or this time of age? Yeah, it's normal enough. I mean, they're very, very old cats. If they're surviving, they've been so well-minded. Years ago, the life expectancy of cats when I first started my career was less, 12 and 14. Now there are cats coming into me healthy at 18 and 20. So that man is doing everything right by the sounds of it. Yeah, our first cats that when we moved into our place 16, 17 years ago back, they lasted 12, 13, 14, 15 years, I think, to the first couple, whatever as the case may be. And now they're living to nearly 20. It's great. It's great, absolutely. Des, well done. That was pretty busy and pretty good as well. Thanks to everybody who contributed, and of course you can continue to message into us if you want to ask Des some stuff, and you can catch him out on the usual website. Go for it.
petslife.ie.
Okay, and there you go. And you can get all the stuff in. If you want to contact Vet and any of his team, Des, any of the team, you can get in contact there through that as well. We'll do another topic again next week.
Thanks,
More
John.
Your question. Thanks.
It's a pet's life with Gym Dog, Ireland's first pet resort by Des the Vet. Managed by vets, loved by pets. Daycare, vet care, premium pet food and grooming. Visit at petslife.ie.